Module 7, Countering, a last resort option for survival. Thus far, we have discussed evacuation or locking down and barricading as viable options when faced with an active threat on campus. However, if an aggressor confronts you by surprise or is able to gain entry to your room or safe space, it may be appropriate to take some type of action to defend yourself and others. Doing so may save your life or the lives of others. This strategy is referred to as countering and is a last resort option and a personal decision using your best judgment. Defending yourself may save your life or the life of others. We do not suggest being passive, such as lying down under a desk or hiding in the corner. If it is obvious that the violent intruder is capable of the intent on causing you physical harm, the act of succumbing to the wishes of the offender will place you under almost total control of the offender. In a study of 41 active shooter events that ended prior to law enforcement arrival, the potential victims stopped the attacker themselves in 16 of those instances. In 13 of those cases, they physically subdued the attacker. Remember, countering is a last resort option and should be used in situations where potential victims are trapped in a room with an active shooter or violent aggressor. There are already victims, and all other personal survival recommendations are no longer an option. How each person chooses to respond if directly confronted by an active shooter is a personal decision. Important note, we do not teach countering techniques to the very young, children in elementary education, or to children with special needs who may not possess the ability to physically defend themselves. However, any staff member, regardless of assignment, is authorized to defend themselves and others with countering techniques using their best judgment.
Countering is not about fighting or mastering precision skills to disarm a gunman. Rather, countering is about regaining control and defending one's life and the lives of others. There are options that have been proven effective in increasing one's odds of surviving an active shooter event. One such strategy is accomplished by arming yourself with any object of opportunity that could be used to defend yourself. There are no hard and fast rules. Survival is the goal. You may opt to use objects such as chairs, small furniture, staplers, books, or any other object you can find. You may even opt to use a fire extinguisher as a weapon of distraction. This may be in the form of throwing the object at or physically striking the aggressor with them. This should be accompanied by shouting loudly, making noise, and screaming. If it becomes necessary to defend yourself against an aggressor's attack, these actions may distract and disrupt the aggressor's plan and put him on the defensive. This could possibly even disarm him by overwhelming the aggressor with numbers and swarming him into subdue. This may afford you precious seconds for law enforcement to arrive, or it may create an opportunity to flee the immediate danger area. If a weapon should fall or be knocked to the ground, you may try to separate the weapon from the aggressor by kicking or sliding it, but do not pick it up or handle the weapon. Doing so could cause police to mistake you for the aggressor. You may opt to place a trash can or a large item over the weapon and guard it until police arrive if it is safe to do so. If possible, and it is appropriate within your professional judgment, hold the aggressor down on the ground until the police arrive. You may also utilize the distraction created to flee from the immediate danger area. The counter strategy is about creating distractions in the shooter's thought process, creating potential escape opportunities, and increasing the odds of personal survival while awaiting the arrival of law enforcement. Shooters do not want resistance, and they do not typically anticipate resistance. According to a 20-year FBI study of active shooter events in the United States, 60% of them ended prior to police arrival, and over half of these incidents did not end until some aggressive act was taken against the aggressor. The counter strategy does not suggest someone should actively seek to defeat a shooter unless cornered with no other options. Distraction techniques may afford a room with multiple occupants an opportunity to regain control, escape, or increase survivability during that critical time between notification to 911 and police arrival. This strategy is best illustrated by understanding the time-sensitive nature of decision-making as outlined in the OODA loop concept that was developed by Air Force Colonel John Boyd in the late 1950s. Simply stated, the OODA loop is how we react to stimulus. Each of us go through this process repeatedly without realizing it each day. The OODA loop consists of 4 parts: observe, orient, decide, and act. For example, let's take a look at the many factors involved in firing a weapon at a target accurately using the OODA loop process. In the OODA phases of observe, orient, decide, and act. Target acquisition is interrupted by noise, shouting, screaming, movement, varying distance, proximity being spread around the room, and not being clustered together in a group. Physical skill necessary: stance, grip, and breathing. Interruption by putting the shooter off balance, redirecting, swarming, flying debris. It's getting a good sight picture. This is interrupted by the distractions and combination of all of the above things we've just mentioned. And finally, physical skill necessary to shoot accurately: pulling the trigger, having good trigger control. This is interrupted by putting the shooter on the defensive. There have been many documented cases in which distraction, disruption, and active resistance have been successful in limiting casualties and in some cases putting an end to the violence. Here are some important reminders about clearing from an activation of your campus's crisis plan. An alert campus or a controlled campus activation may be cleared through audible announcements. However, an active threat plan activation will only be cleared through a face-to-face contact with law enforcement and/or administration using a key. Occupants should disregard any radio or public address announcements directing people that it is safe to emerge from refuge and move freely about the campus. Once you are in a safe place, do not open the door. If you are hidden in some other location other than a locked room on campus, do not come out of hiding until you see and hear law enforcement directing you to do so. Law enforcement will be working with administration to determine when it is safe to begin reunification procedures.